What's going on, guys? Today we have a portfolio analysis video, and as you can see, I'm quite heavy in cash right now. Obviously, we're in a bear market, so it's good to be heavy in cash. And basically, I'm gonna be speaking a tiny bit on how I plan to deploy the cash. Now, keep in mind, all of these numbers are inaccurate because some of my wallets are public, so I don't want you guys to figure out my total holdings based off of, oh, you have 3% Penguin, it's worth this much. That means your whole portfolio is worth this much. But these are averages, okay? And so we're going to get into it today, what I guess I plan to do with my cash. I'm still not 100% decided, and we'll go over a couple interesting plays that I want to buy that I do not own currently. And of those plays, I'll give a small talk about them, but ultimately I'll create a longer video later with the thesis. So I have this doc, which is the deployment example, right? So I have 60% of my port, which is cash. Let's just say, for sake of argument, this is 100,000 US dollars to make it pretty easy. Of the 100K, I'll keep 30% cash and use only for emergencies. I don't know. Maybe Bitcoin has a very big dump, Black Swan event, Michael Saylor gets liquidated. I know that's a theoretical, that's impossible, but you get the point. Always have some cash, especially when you have a bigger portfolio. When I had, let's say, like 30K to my name in the first cycle I went all in on Bitcoin. So it's not necessary to keep some cash, but now that I have a bit of a bigger portfolio, I'll be keeping some cash, using it for emergencies and also living and whatever I need, okay? Now, 30% I am going to allocate to Bitcoin, and the deployment strategy for this is going to be interesting. So, I'm not exactly sure. I don't have an exact plan on what my strategy will be on deploying my money into Bitcoin. I do think it's pretty likely that we have a lower low created, and one that's lower than this 58K. And as you can see in this, I do still hold 17% of my Bitcoin, of my portfolio in Bitcoin, let's say. So, I mean, I'm still okay. If we go to all-time highs, I'll be okay. I'll be pretty happy. I'll make quite a bit on my alt bets, which I'm holding right now. And if we go lower, I could deploy cash. So I haven't decided exactly what to do yet, but I know quite a few smart people who basically have deploy like $1,000 every time we Bitcoin goes down like $5,000. So at 55K they'll deploy a certain amount, and then at 50K they'll deploy another amount. 45K, 40K, 35K. You get the point. And obviously they go a bit heavier as we get lower. So keep that in mind. That's probably a good strategy. I haven't figured out my exact deployment strategy yet, but that's kind of what I'm planning to do. Let's wait for Bitcoin to create a lower low, if it does, and start deploying cash. And basically, okay, what your job is in a bull market is to catch the majority of the move. Like, we don't know if Bitcoin's going to bottom at 60K or 55K or 30K or 20K. We have no idea. So basically, what I would say is anytime you're buying under this low of 60K, that's probably a decent time to buy. If we create a new all-time high next cycle, that's over 120K, so that's going to be a guarantee, well, not guaranteed, that's going to be a 2x, right? If you're buying anywhere below 60K, right? So that's not too bad of an idea, okay? Now, when it comes to a good amount of my other cash, I do want to allocate it to stocks. I am not exactly, once again, I'm not 100% certain on this, but Amazon is relatively interesting to me. Basically, it's one of the only stocks that is not extremely overvalued, but it still probably will benefit greatly from AI and robotics. So that makes me wonder, why is it not as overbought and overvalued as a lot of other AI coins, or sorry, not coins, AI stocks. So yeah, it's a question. I'm gonna be looking into it. I should actually instead just say this is for stocks. For example, Amazon, right? Um, Now that my portfolio is bigger, I can actually use, I guess, diversify. Let's say I could diversify into some stocks, whether that's Amazon or I don't know, some other opportunity in the future. I'm not the biggest stock guy I used to be, but so I've got a good amount to research and learn and relearn the game a bit. But another field that's pretty interesting to me is robotics. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen, there's this Robo Strategy token, or not token, I keep saying token, it's a stock. And this Robo Strategy, I mean, there are good things and bad things to it. Obviously, it's like one of the only assets that allows you to get exposure to the robotics industry, but it's premium compared to its MNAV or its assets value. It's pretty, yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. I think it's trading at like 3 or 4 times, and at the peak it was like 8 times or something. I don't know, but it's pretty insane. I'll be monitoring this stock and I'll be looking into other opportunities as well because I think robotics is kind of like AI, but we haven't. I guess the hype hasn't gone to robotics just yet. And but as I said, there are like very few ways that you could actually get exposure. So I'll be doing quite a bit of thinking of how to do this. But yeah, just an idea. I plan to allocate some portion to stocks is basically all I wanna get the point across to. And that's also because I have, as I said, I've grown my portfolio. If you are in your first cycle and you have less than 100K to your name, I mean, even 100K is probably too little, but if you have 100K or less, you might want to just go with what you're comfortable with. Maybe that's crypto or maybe that's stocks only. But yeah, for me, I'll be looking at some stocks to diversify because my portfolio has grown. Another one I'm interested in is Hype. I will be creating a thesis video on this probably. I think it does depend on if I get my entry because if I don't get an entry, I might just not make a video. But Hyperliquid is actually a phenomenal coin. I'm honestly very upset with myself because I know so many smart people that said, yeah, it's a legendary coin, you should buy. And I mean, this was all the way back here, really, when people were telling me to buy. And I should have at least done research, but I didn't do enough. But now I definitely see the vision. Uh, I guess the TLDR is, I think perps are more bullish than options, and I think a lot of institutions will benefit from using Hyperliquid's product. I also think it's more retail friendly. Not currently because you can't use it in the US, so there are some headwinds for sure. But in terms of the actual product, it's a phenomenal product. I'm not big on buybacks in general. I mean, we've seen Pump Token. I should pull that up actually. Let me see. Pump Token has a bunch of buybacks, but look at how poorly it's performing. So the question is, are buybacks really that good? And it's like, well, it depends, right? How much are they buying back? If they're buying back a ton, then it's obviously going to have some sort of an impact. And obviously that's been the case for Hype. But another thing that you have to remember is Hype is actually a phenomenal product. So because it's a phenomenal product, people are pouring money into Hype on top of the buybacks. And also, I don't know if you guys know this, there are actually spot ETFs for Hype. And you look at the top 20 cryptocurrencies, only like 5 have a spot ETF. It's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Hype. I think XRP has one. But yeah, it's crazy that Hype is included there. And that opens up a lot of capital to flow into Hype's token, okay? Now, another benefit I didn't mention was the 24-hour trading. Obviously, if you're like an oil trader, let's just say, if you can trade 24/7, you have an advantage over those who are using the stock market who can't trade 24/7. And then you also get into the idea of, okay, maybe a lot of institutions will use AI in the future to trade. And it's like, how can an AI trade the stock market well? Well, it's probably better off using Hyperliquid. It will probably be more efficient. It could probably act quicker. I haven't thought all this out yet, but it's just an idea that I had. So it could catch an AI narrative as well. And on top of all of this, I mean, it could catch the attention of a bunch of actual institutional investors, because this token is more like a stock rather than a crypto, right? This company has real revenue and they rebuy their token. It's more like a stock. It's easier to understand. And there's a lot more I'll go into if I make a thesis video. But my general idea is I kind of want to be a bit aggressive with the buying here. I mean, from all-time high, 75 down to 50. If you enter here at 50, if it goes down to $50 exactly, and then it runs to all-time highs again, that's already a 50% gain, right? It's pretty volatile at the moment, so we'll keep an eye on it. And I plan to be a bit aggressive. I haven't decided exactly yet, but probably gonna buy at like 50 a little bit, and then a bit at 45, a bit at 40, and then if we go lower, I'll just keep going heavier and heavier. So yeah, that's the plan there. Next things, okay, other plays. TonX, Redacted, and Pengu. Okay, so for TonX, you could watch my video on this already, but the thesis is pretty simple. This is a stock that is a strategy token for Ton. And actually, let me see. If I go here, I can actually check the current statistics. Right now, there's a 53% discount on TonX stock compared to their holdings. Okay, so as you can see, they hold $350 million worth of Ton token, and their market cap is 175 million. Okay, now that's pretty interesting. Because of this discount, if you are bullish on Ton and you think the discount will close, then you're basically double bullish on TonX. Okay, now we saw a very good example of this being Per. Now the discount wasn't as big as Ton Strategies discount is, but at some point down here it was pretty discounted, and if you bought in and you were bullish on hype, well, now you're up. I mean, from there to the peak, you were up 250%. And as I said, the discount wasn't even that big, so that's why it kind of performed very similarly to hype, a little bit of outperformance. But with something like Ton Strategy, which has a massive discount compared to the Ton that they hold, I mean, this thing can outperform Ton by 2x, for example, because it's a 50% discount, right? So yeah, that's the idea there. You can watch my video on why I'm bullish on Ton. Short term, we might see a bit of pain with Bitcoin going down, but that's not a worry. I already own a small position in Ton Strategy stock, and if Ton goes down, then I'll probably double down. But yeah, it's an interesting idea, and it's not like the highest confidence trade I've ever taken. I would say I'm not the best at choosing altcoins, but I would say that there's a decent chance that Ton can be an outperformer next cycle. Okay, now the next one, Redacted. So this is a coin that is very cheap, so I can't really share it. If other people buy, it's gonna ruin my entry. I already have a small position, but I plan to buy more. I am bullish on Pudgy Penguins, so it's pretty similar to Pudgy Penguins. And wait, that Pudgy just got bought. Dang, bro. OpenSea is the worst platform, guys. Like, I don't want to hate on them, but it's pretty trash. Um, 7K for one Pudgy. This, in my opinion, is a pretty good bet. If you are relatively bullish on ETH, I think it's a good idea. Um, I think Pudgy Penguins will always have these random spikes that they usually do. And you might ask yourself, oh, why do these random spikes happen? Oh, it was because last time the spike happened, it was Pengu, and then after that, it also had a spike, and that was when a lot of companies were PFPing the Penguin. And it's like, you might think the PFPing of the Penguin was what caused the pump, and yeah, I'm sure that added fuel to the fire. But we don't know what's going on in the back end. I'm pretty confident that the Pudgy team was doing buybacks to make that pump more aggressive. And on a illiquid market like NFTs, it's pretty easy to pump the market cap and or pump the price and then make it a spectacle, right? Everyone sees Pudgy Penguins are pumping to, I think they pumped to like 60K. That's pretty insane. And that was after Pengu. So like, yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I think there will always be these pumps because Pudgy Penguins, the company, actually makes revenue and they do buybacks to cause those pumps. So that's the idea. And additionally to that, we have the abstract airdrop potential in the future. I think that's completely priced out right now. Now, we don't know if that airdrop's going to happen. I'm actually betting that Abstract won't launch a token. I'll address that in a bit. But yeah, the other thing is the IPO. Pudgy Penguins, or sorry, Igloo Inc. might IPO. And if they IPO, I think that would cause some good price action for Pudgy Penguins. And from a company perspective, it would be a very good idea to buy back and pump your assets, the assets that you hold, which they can easily do right before an IPO. That way, when you IPO, your company is valued more because your holdings are worth more. Okay, so that's another interesting idea. And I think the IPO and the abstract airdrop are not really priced in, but I think they will cause a decent run up and there will be hype around it and stuff like that. So yeah, Pudgy Penguins, probably a good idea to buy an NFT if you have the capital for it. Pengu, another good idea in my opinion. Do I have the chart here? I do. Now the chart is pretty bad. But as you can see, every time Bitcoin goes up, Pengu pumps as well, and it pumps like maybe 2x harder. And then when Bitcoin goes down, same thing. But you don't see this for like any other meme coin. I am still very confident in the idea that Pengu becomes the main meme coin in the crypto space after, I guess, the next cycle. And when this happens, I mean, you probably want to be positioned for it. I think it's pretty easy that we go back to all-time highs. I think there will always be a space and time for meme coins. So some people are like, oh, the meme coin super cycle is dead. Yeah, but even Doge was able to run before the meme coin super cycle, right? So if we get a similar situation, I think Pengu can go to all-time highs. And I also am aware of potential short trades, short-term trades, not shorting, short-term trades. I'm pretty confident that they will make a push in Q4 and Q1 of next year. I actually was at the licensing expo in Las Vegas, and I spoke to the Pudgy Penguins team, and I have some intel on that. You could check my Telegram for more details, or you could DM me on Telegram for that. But yeah, basically we'll be looking to buy the lows and ride it up next bull run. I think it will be an early outperformer. Once again, this is also a bet on the IPO, because if they do an IPO, Pudgy Penguins, and they're like, okay, we hold 200, let's just say $250 million worth of Pengu token. Okay, well that's a good valuation for Igloo Inc. then, right? Because Igloo Inc. owns quite a bit of Pengu. Now, if you pump that 2x, right, and Pengu pumps 2x, then it's like, oh, we actually own $500,000 worth of Pengu. Sorry, did I say thousand, or I meant million? But you guys get the point. The point is you pump your asset so that then you could say we hold insanely large amounts of these tokens. Even though they're very illiquid, it doesn't really matter. The market probably won't take that into account. I mean, it will, but not to a large extent. And when it comes to something like an IPO, obviously you want it to seem like you're doing a lot better than you are doing. I mean, that's what you're seeing as well with all these AI companies, right? I mean, SpaceX, what, they don't even have, they're not even profitable or something, and they're gonna IPO at a trillion valuation. You know, these things are pretty insane, but it's definitely possible that they try to pump these assets into the IPO. That way, on paper, they hold extremely large amounts, and so the market is like, oh, we should price this asset, the stock, very high. Okay, now Abster, other short-term trades. I'll consider Abster as one of those short-term trades. Now, you guys already know the situation with Abster. Basically, the idea now is that it doesn't make sense to drop a token when all your assets on chain are down 99% from all-time highs. Okay? So what's the solution? I mean, let's just say the market comes back and Abster and every other meme coin on Abstract stays flat. Do you think Luca's going to launch a token? Like, does that make any sense to launch a token when your chain is not winning? I don't think it makes any sense. So, I mean, to some extent, the chain has to be winning again, in my opinion, for them to launch a token. So I do think to some extent meme coins have to pump before a token is launched. And considering Luca probably wants to time the token launch with the IPO so that the whole eco goes up and there's a lot of hype and froth, I think it's pretty likely that at some point Abster does make a good push again, a good run again. We saw this on Mega ETH. They, as soon as they said they were going to launch a token, the meme coins went decent. But obviously Mega ETH is like a way inferior chain to Abstract. So when Abstract does this, I'm assuming it will have a much larger effect. And crime is also on the table because, I mean, Luca understands that if the assets are down this bad and they try to TGE, it's going to look, it's going to look pretty bad, I think. So I think he's pretty aware of the situation. So the last thing I wanted to address was my big bet on Polymarket. And this is that Abstract won't launch a token in 2026. This is an interesting idea, and I had the bet from like January at the very beginning of this year, right? It's not on this account, it's on this account, where basically we have Yeah, so we got in at 31 cents. Unfortunately, I couldn't share it because I wanted all the bids. I wanted all the to buy all the shares from the people that were willing to bet yes, Abstract would launch a token. Um, so I didn't share it around much, but yeah, we're up quite a bit. I'm not going to celebrate too early. Anything could happen. The market can pump very hard and then Abstract does launch a token before the end of the year. And if they do that, then I probably get an airdrop. So it's a bit of a hedge on my position. And yeah, so with that being said, I wanted to also address this. So there's this bet, Abstract FDV, one above a certain price 1 day after launch. Now I will be looking for an entry to buy no on the 200 million side. Now this will be at the end of the year if my other bet hits, okay? And the reason why is because, as you can see, if Abstract doesn't launch a token by December 31st, 2027, this market will resolve to no. So that's a year and a half away, right? So, but it's basically the same trade as the trade that I took for this year, except you might get better odds. Hopefully, the market is pumping, and I will just once again use this as a hedge to my Abstract exposure, both Abster and I guess the massive amount of XP I have. It will be a hedge in that sense. So yeah, that's the idea there. And let's hope, as I said, that the market comes back and the market doesn't realize that this is in the terms, and basically this goes to like, I don't know, 90% or something, and then we could make a 10x potentially. Obviously, we will reevaluate when the new year comes because we don't know. Maybe it's going to look more likely that Luca will launch a token in 2027, in which case we don't want to take this bet. But I guess with all that being said, that's basically everything I wanted to go over. I think I should say just a little bit more on Bitcoin because it is tough to predict where it's gonna go, but I guess the whole market except maybe hype. Hype is like the only thing that's not dependent on Bitcoin. So I'm still happy keeping quite a bit of cash here, but I am looking to start deploying it soon. I think any time under 60K is a good time to start DCAing. Obviously, you want to be prepared for the worst. I mean, let's just say it's possible to go to 30K. I don't think we will get lower than that, but in a bear market, things will always get lower than you think they will. Take a look at like every meme coin that you may have liked. Did you think it was gonna go? Like, think back to what you thought 6 months ago. Did you think that it would ever reach the price that it's at today? And with a lot of these coins, I'm like, no. But obviously, I've learned a lot of lessons. I'm still very happy with my positioning, and I've made quite a bit this bull run. In terms of my portfolio, I've several x'd it this cycle, and I think that's pretty good for my first cycle. And yeah, that's the portfolio update. I will keep you guys updated. I'll probably make a thesis video on Hyperliquid and Amazon if Amazon ends up being the coin that I want, or coin stock that I want to buy. But yeah, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed and hope you have more clarity on, I guess, what you want to do with your portfolios.